You're listening to the Membership Geeks podcast, bringing you proven practical tips and advice from the leading experts on growing a successful membership business.
Welcome back to the Membership Geeks podcast. I'm your host, Mike Morrison. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. This is the place to be for all the insight, ideas, and inspiration you need to grow your membership business. And today we're talking about something that pretty much every membership owner is going to contemplate and potentially going to expand their business to accommodate, and that is bringing on board a community manager for your membership. So I want to specifically talk about the kind of tasks that you could have a community manager working on in order to benefit your membership business. Before we get into that, if this is your first time, make sure that you hit the subscribe button in your podcast app. No other podcast compares when it comes to giving you everything you need to know, not just to launch a membership, but to have a membership business that is absolutely thriving and navigating the challenges we're all going to be facing in this new era of online business and all of the wonderful changes and pivots and adaptations that it brings with it. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit subscribe. You will get weekly episodes of the number one show for membership owners. And if you've been listening for a while, if this show has helped you in any way, I'd so appreciate it if you could take just a moment of your time to leave a nice, shiny review. When I say shiny, that means we want 5 shiny stars, ideally, with a few words about how the podcast has helped you in your membership. I know, I'm terrible at this. I'll listen to podcasts, I'll eat at restaurants, I'll see movies, and I will absolutely love and value every single part of that experience. And I will rave about it to friends, I will rave about it to family, but I'll forget to review. If you can take 30 seconds to break that habit that I so often fall foul of, to break that habit and leave a nice review if you've been meaning to give some feedback for a while, I would so appreciate it. And then hit me up on social media at Membership Geeks to let me know that you have, so I can thank you personally. Every review we get, every positive comment we get, honestly, it makes this all worthwhile, and it helps me to know that not only am I doing my job right in serving you by giving you all you need for your membership success, but also more reviews mean we reach more people, we can help more memberships, and that's really what I'm on a mission to do as we approach the second decade of Membership Geeks and Membership Academy. Anyway, let's get back to it. What kind of things could you have a community manager working on in your membership business? Honestly, a lot of times, a community manager is going to be the first role you consider bringing on. You might bring in a virtual assistant to help with some admin, particularly if you're publishing a lot of content or you've got a lot of calls in the diary. A VA, a virtual assistant, can really help with that. But in terms of specific roles to memberships, community manager is often the one you'd look at first, because as your membership grows, so too does the member base, so too do the conversations, the customer service requests, the different ways in which you'll be looking to bring members together on live calls and stuff like that. There'll be more people there, there'll be more people to it. And it does reach a point where you cannot be doing everything. You can't be the person who schedules in a live call, who prepares questions in advance from pre-submitted ones, who keeps an eye on the chat during your live session to pick up any questions, and who takes a recording afterwards and summarize. Like, you can't be that person. You can't be the rock star and the roadie. Your time, your attention is best spent on the things that only you can do. Things that are centered around really harnessing your expertise and turning it into content, turning it into coaching, turning it into opportunities to give your community access to you. That's going to take up enough of your time, and that's just the stuff where you're working in the business. When it comes to working on the business, you need to be working on the higher level strategic stuff. You can't be having your days constantly interrupted by keeping on top of everything that's happening in the community. Now, I want to say, this doesn't mean if you do bring a community manager in, it doesn't mean that you just abdicate, you just abandon your community. Your community manager should take things off your plate that you don't need to be doing, but they should be enhancing, they should be adding to the community experience on top of what you're already doing, so that you can just show up and participate. You can show up and answer questions. You can show up and, take part in fun discussions. Again, being the rock star, not being the roadie. So here are some of the tasks that our community manager handles, and these are the sort of things that we often see in other memberships as the priority areas for bringing in someone for the community manager role. First and foremost, I love our community manager replying to any new members who post an introduction in the forum. So within our forum, we have a dedicated section for new member introductions, and we encourage members to post in there as one of the first things they do. Really just because that helps them to get over that initial hurdle of taking part in the community, so they maybe don't feel any hesitation, any second guessing, any nervousness when they have a question that they need help with. If they've already introduced themselves, have already broken the seal on that, it makes it easier for them to really dive in and get a lot more from being in the community. But it also gives an opportunity for all of us in there to make them feel welcome, to show them that they are somewhere that they belong, they're in a safe space, that we're all rooting for them. And so we have that dedicated introduction section, and it is a key part of our community manager's role to keep an eye on that, to spot any new member introduction posts, to get in there, to welcome the new member. And we ask people to kind of talk a little bit about what their membership idea is, whether they're running or not, what they most need help with. And so if they haven't given that info, our community manager will try and get that from them. If they have, our community manager will try and direct them to something that will help. And we invite them to dive into the community. We remind them, anytime you've got a question, we're here for you. Make sure that you check in here. So it's really a big part of their role to ensure every single new member is welcomed. Because while obviously you want your whole community, you want random members to pop in there and say, oh, hi, great that you're here. This is a great place. You can't always guarantee that. So you want to make sure at least one person answers. It also takes the pressure off me a little bit as, the person who's spinning all the plates within the business, because there's periods where I'm not able to check into the community as consistently or as regularly as I would like to. And so I know that if I'm busy, my new members are still being taken care of. And then I can pop in and I can actually spend some time interacting with them when I'm able to. They're not sitting there not getting welcomed. So replying to new member introduction posts is a big, big one. We also have a dedicated section for progress logs. Progress logs or coaching journals or, activity diaries or something like that, where you encourage your members to create their own dedicated thread, their own dedicated post within your community that they keep coming back to, they keep updating with their progress, with things that they've been struggling with accomplishments, with wins, with all that sort of stuff. And it's their little space. So it's posted in the forum. Everyone can see it, but that's the idea. People check in, people update it on a regular basis, and other people in the community can encourage them, can egg them on, can give them a little support, can give them a boost if they're feeling down. And again, it's the job of the community manager to keep on top of that section, to check in on the progress logs, to respond to updates that people are making, just to encourage them, just to congratulate them on the progress that they're making, to maybe suggest some resources we have inside the academy that might be able to help them based on their latest update. But not just that, but also to keep an eye on people who haven't been updating their progress log and then nudge them a little bit. Sometimes people need a nudge, they need a little reminder, and it's our community manager's job to do that. So again, keeping on top of the things that we know are going to be integral to that member experience, that's part of what our community manager handles. They, of course, also are responsible for replying to questions in the forum. So in the wider forum where people can post their questions about their business, about their membership, where it's maybe not as structured as the introductions or the progress logs, it's for the community manager to make sure that they are responding, that nothing gets left unanswered. And sometimes that is a case of going in there and giving people the answer. Sometimes people ask a question which is literally just, where can I find content about this? And our community manager will go in there and recommend content. But quite often, it's responding to tag in other people, to bring other members into the conversation who might have things to contribute. So obviously our community manager, they're not a membership expert. If someone asks a specialist question and I go in there and answer, the expectation is that I'll be able to answer it, right? But with our community manager, it's much more about being almost a concierge of sorts, about suggesting that other people join the conversation, about pointing them to other resources, or even tagging myself. If it's something that we know that I need to chime in on, them going in there and tagging me to kind of bump it up my priority list, that is a service to our members. And that ensures that even if they're not getting a direct response immediately in terms of the answer they're looking for, they at least know that we're on it. As a community, we are on it. They're seeing we're looping in some people who will have positive things to contribute. We're recommending content. And again, we're just taking care of people. Another big important thing for us is we like to send personal welcome videos to every new member so that they see a friendly face that is actually speaking directly to them. When someone joins the membership, as part of our onboarding, we have a welcome video that is pre-recorded. It's from me. Everyone sees it. Just giving them a big warm welcome, letting them know they're in the right place, letting them know what comes next. And while that obviously does a lot in terms of making sure people have that warm welcome, it's not personal. And I like to make things personal and have that little personal touch, but I also want them to be introduced to our community manager because they're going to be seeing them a lot inside the community. So we send personal welcome videos to each and every individual member using a tool called Bonjoro. We've been doing this for years. We advocate people do this. And this just creates that personal human connection. It introduces them to a community manager who they're going to be seeing a lot. It enables our community manager to ask some questions, to suggest that they do something. So our community manager will check our new member questionnaire. We do a little survey of every member who joins, and we'll see, have they filled it in? Have they given any information about where they are? Just so we can kind of mention that. Have they said what their membership's about? If it's interesting, our community manager will say, hey, you're starting a membership for diabetic dog care. That's so interesting. As it happens, my dog's diabetic. You kind of get that little angle. So this isn't just mindlessly reading a script. Our community manager will find out a little bit about this person. And if they have introduced themselves in the forum, then obviously we'll have a little bit of information about them that just enriches the message we send. If they haven't, that can be the main call to action of that personal video. So sending those personal videos regularly is a task that falls into the remit of our community manager, and it's part of their day-to-day routines. Another thing that we have our community manager doing is compiling any latest updates about the membership and also pulling together a list of popular or interesting discussions that have happened in the community. And we put together this list every single week, and it goes into our weekly member digest. So our weekly member digest has been one of the most impactful things in terms of ongoing engagement. It's so simple, but we forget that when someone becomes a member, that doesn't mean we stop marketing to them, we stop communicating to them. So things like sending a regular newsletter to your members is something a lot of memberships don't do, but actually when you do this, you send a weekly digest that essentially is selling the benefits of the membership, is selling the benefits of jumping into the community by highlighting the newest developments, the latest events, and conversations that they might want to hop into. That is something that always boosts engagement, and it's been one of the simplest needle movers that we introduced into our membership. In fact, if we're ever late sending it out, we usually send it out around about 11 a.m. UK time. If we're ever late because I'm traveling to the US or anything like that, we get concerned messages because it's become such a part of people's routine. And all of the heavy lifting for that is done by our community manager as well. So if you've been thinking about bringing a community manager in, if you are finding that there's a lot that is really being taken up in terms of your time, keeping on top of the community, replying to everything, keeping everybody engaged. If you know that you want to level up things with your member onboarding and all that sort of stuff, but you just don't have the capacity for it, then these are some key things that your community manager could bring to the table. Now, I'd always recommend starting with someone who is subcontracted rather than someone who's a full-time employee. That's what we did, because the specifics of the role will change from community to community. Some memberships are more active, are busier. Some memberships are a little bit more of a hotbed for potentially controversial discussion or heated discussions. And in that case, your community manager would need to be a little bit more of the policeman, a little bit more of a moderator. Our membership is very calm. We never have members falling out. There's never anything controversial or heated or problematic. So our community manager rarely has to do anything like that. But of course, it's going to be different for everyone. So I would always start off subcontracting. If you are looking for a community manager, we have a whole bunch that are inside our free Facebook group at talkmemberships.com. So go to talkmemberships.com or just search Membership Mastermind in Facebook. It'll take you to our group of around 20,000 people. There's a lot of people in there who work with memberships and actually fulfill the role of community manager on an outsourced, subcontracted basis. Give that a start. See how it goes, see how much time it alleviates for you, see how much it makes possible in terms of new enhancements to the member experience. And then, of course, if you start to see that become a more rounded out role specific to the needs of your membership business, then that's something where further down the line you could look at this potentially being a full-time employee, much in the way that we ended up doing. We brought on our community manager, I believe. Was she our first full-time hire or our second full-time hire as part of the team, because it was such a key part of what we do. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things our community manager does that I'm not going to talk about because they are really specific to what we do in the membership, and they're not necessarily going to be the tasks you would start yours out with. Things like handling aspects of customer service, things like getting involved in the member surveys, hosting certain member calls, like those kind of things are the type of responsibilities we evolved the role to. But for what I've talked about today, that definitely gives you a strong starting point for tasks that you could empower a community manager to handle. And that's just going to free up your time so much more. It's going to move the bar in terms of your involvement in your business, because as your membership grows, you need to increasingly be working on the membership and not in it, not with the day-to-day, the lower level tasks that someone else could honestly be doing a lot better than you. So if you're being at that place where you're considering bringing in help, community manager is usually a good place to start. And if you've been contemplating fulfilling that role, but you're just not sure what you'd have them do, then I hope today's episode has given you a bit of food for thought. That is it from me for this week. I do hope you've enjoyed today's episode and find it useful. I'll be back again next week with another episode of the Membership Geeks podcast. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Membership Geeks podcast, we invite you to check out membershipacademy.com. Membership Academy is the original membership about memberships, and it's the essential resource for anyone at any stage of starting, growing, and running a successful online membership business. Whether you're still trying to figure out what your idea is going to be and you need some help making it a reality, or whether your website is already up and running and you're looking for ways to grow and attract new members, then Membership Academy can help you to get to the next level. Not only do you get access to our step-by-step membership roadmap, our extensive training library, and exclusive member-only discount and tools, you'll also become part of our supportive, active community of membership owners that will help you along the way in your journey with feedback, encouragement, and advice. All of this and more make Membership Academy the #1 place to be for anyone looking to start, manage, and grow a successful membership business. Check it out and join the community at membershipacademy.com.